Now let's start off with how a sick homeless man was left in the sun and sometimes the rain. In the following story, which filled me with a lot of rage and disappointment when my attention was drawn to it, we'll bring you a chilling account of how officers of the National Ambulance Service picked up a patient to the hospital, only to be abandoned later on the sidewalk where they picked him up from because the hospital rejected him. For what reason? Hopefully I'll find out in the course of the program. But here's a report by Jojo Kobina and Rebecca Dako.
Unconscious, left in the sun. That is how we found this man, who we later got to know as Jacob Basalasari. The sun goes down and gives way to the rain. Basil is left in the rain, only that bystanders had covered him, at least to give him some shelter. We were curious, so we inquired why the man was left in the rain, stripped of all his humanity and dignity. What we found was shocking. The man was actually picked up by the ambulance service after calls from residents, then later dumped at the same place earlier in the day.
National Police ambulance no didn't call police hospital. No say bed no like no National Ambulance them send them form call polyclinic. No say fuel no magasa no mdi then editor fuel gu car so yan fa them back baby fa no and near back and so yeah nyame adwuma yeah scan now wa and say in the hospital yes and by na yes return will be scared then edemano
akoko police station no musi nipa ni nwuye no ye mbe fa no National Ambulance and Subai, no muso ya call police hospital na nipa na anje no. Omunti fa ni nko baby, anko kolebo lady no can see baby. Na nipa ne da honom no.
So we decided to do a civic duty by taking him to the hospital ourselves. The men who helped Basil gave us a helping hand. And paved way for vehicles with their motorbikes as we battled the heavy traffic. The National Ambulance Service had failed Basil, so we had to make do with our pickup truck. We sent him to the Ridge Hospital, where Basil was attended to. We got him a folder and paid for his medication. Finally, he was well covered and his dignity restored. Basil is receiving all the help that he can get, but we had other burning questions needing answers. Why will the ambulance service carry this man to the hospital and later dump him on the streets where they took him? We located the exact ambulance that carried Basil at the Accra Sports Stadium. The vehicle that was supposed to rush patients was packed and the staff were taking it easy in an air-conditioned office. Ambulance staff said off camera they cleaned the man, fed him and took him to the police hospital, but they were turned away because they were told there were no beds available. A member of the crew said they were asked by nurses at the hospital to, quote, to take the infected man away. They said they had no choice but to return the man to the streets. The ambulance service says they will officially react to the story at a later date.
So we are asking a number of questions. Does the ambulance service really have no choice? What is the usual protocol when it comes to situations as this when a patient is rejected? Wait a minute. Should a patient be rejected when brought in by an ambulance or any other form of transportation to a hospital seeking medical attention? Let's get some answers to some of these questions and the many more that are bothering my mind at the moment. I'm joined over the telephone by Joseph Akama, and we'll deal with this matter over the next few minutes. Dr. Joseph Akama, you're welcome to the program, Doc.
Thank you.
First of all, let me just pick your quick overview on this. What exactly do you think about this story?
Well, let me say good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. I'm the Deputy CEO for the Ambulance Service,
Very well.
Dr. Joseph Akama. The case we understand, after interviewing the team that took the patient yesterday, is a gentleman by, I will hold his name for security reasons and confidentiality reasons, who was in front of the traffic lights close to Joy FM office since Sunday. So a bystander probably called the ambulance service thinking the patient needed help. So my team went there. The ambulance crew was dispatched. So the call 193 went through, they picked it, and then they dispatched this crew. And the crew was made up of trained ambulance personnel. They're called EMTs. They got to the scene, assessed the patient, and did their usual at-scene assessment and management. They determined that the patient was very hungry, moribund, and needed further help. They also wanted information from the police, so they contacted the bystanders about any information regarding whether the police was contacted. And they got some information. The Kokomuleme police station was contacted. So they went ahead to transport the patient to the police hospital, thinking that it was more of a neglected patient who they couldn't contact any relatives. No relatives were available. When they got to the police hospital, they were told the patient could not be accepted because they did not have beds. That is the information they gave to the team. So after a while, the patient was not cared for. So, and unfortunately, the bystanders who volunteered to go with the patient agitated to depart with their money because they have contributed money around the Joy FM station near the traffic light to help pay for the patient's initial evaluation at the hospital, including the hospital card and everything. And the problem faced by ambulance crew around the country is if they take an accident, a critically ill patient with no relatives available, the hospitals do not accept the patient. So this is the situation where the patient was not accepted because they said there was no bed, but that has to be evaluated further. And they had no place to send the patient because no hospital would take the patient because there's no family with the patient. So they were left in their bind. Basically, that is what happened.
We know that is what happened, but what is the usual protocol? You go to the hospital, you're not able to get a patient, you have picked up medical attention, and you return the patient to wherever it is. What about if it was an accident?
The circumstances surrounding their decisions is still being evaluated. My chief executive officer is coming back from his external trip because of the urgency of this matter. The Minister of Health has contacted us to get details. So we're interviewing various to get the detail of this matter. So we'll be expanding on this with time. But the usual protocol is a hospital should not refuse any patient, irrespective of the circumstance. But around the country, if you interview each ambulance crew, they give you the frustrations they face from each hospital, whether private, government, or quasi-government. They have been rejected. And sometimes the crew members have to contribute to help these patients. There are instances where they carry the patient and stay with the patient for 5 hours because the patient is not accepted by the index hospital. And this is a recurring incident. So this is not isolation. This incident was not in isolation. So they get frustrated. Ideally, the hospital should not refuse a patient, but they reject them, and then the crew have to take the patient everywhere.
I agree with you. You might be facing challenges, and you may be doing a lot on your own to brace these challenges. But your crew took the sick man to the police hospital, got rejected, and gave up for the man to die.
That's why I said we need to get the details from their assessment.
So do you admit that it was wrong that your crew gave up too early?
Again, I don't know the details of the circumstances. We're still evaluating. We're going to interview the bystanders. From their assessment, the patient was hungry, was neglected. So we need to get the details. We're evaluating their forms. We're evaluating all the calls they made. We're going to interview the police hospital to see what exactly transpired. We're going to interview the bystanders who volunteered and contributed the money. So we need more details. So okay. I wouldn't be able to answer correctly whether it is true that they neglected a person or not. However, what I do know is that our crew members are abused anywhere they go with a patient who is not accompanied by a relative. They are rejected. They have to sometimes they have to see the patient for hours for no apparent reason. And they toss them from one hospital to another, and this is recurring.
Dr. Akama, the point I'm trying to make is the ambulance service. Once you pick the patient becomes your obligation.
Correct.
And you took the patient to just one hospital, and then that was it. I believe that within the Kokomlemle area alone, Kokomlemle, Nima, Mamobi, including the police hospital area, including the 37 area, your ambulance service could have given it a bit more shot, a longer shot than what they did.
So that is your assessment. My assessment is that we don't have the detailed information. What was the patient's mental status? What was the patient's medical condition? Does he really need to be in hospital, or he needs to be in a social setting? Does he really need to be sent to a hospital for acute illness? Or he needs food, or he needs shelter? So a person lying by the road could be medically ill, or could be just dejected and hungry. And this patient was able to communicate, ask for food. My crew members bought him porridge. He ate. He was able to walk into the ambulance. So these are instances. We need to get the details. So
I
understand where you're coming from.
We understand that point, but
we get a detail. We cannot really ascertain the circumstances around.
Fair enough. But you mentioned about an assessment about whether or not this patient needed medical attention. Is that not? Shouldn't it be part of the assessment your crew members do when they first come into contact with the patient?
Let me repeat what I said. We are assessing them to see their assessment. So we're gathering the information.
Very well.
We're gathering the information.
Your man already made mention of the fact that the reason they brought the man back was because they didn't have fuel. They had to buy fuel with their own money. What's your reaction to that?
I will counter that. That is not what is on their report. They had fuel. They had the money they collected for the bystanders, and the bystanders accompanied the crew, was to pay for the outpatient processing. And that money was returned to the bystanders, the volunteers. So our crew members take patients for emergency, irrespective of their ability to pay for fuel or not. It's an emergency. This instance, they didn't request for any money for any fuel. They returned the 100, I believe they collected, the bystanders, the shop owners contributed about 120 Ghana cedis to pay for the outpatient processing, because if you go to a hospital with no health insurance, you have to pay for your card. So the bystanders, two of them, we need to interview them.
Dr. Akama, I'm not sure you understood my question.
Yes.
The reason your crew members brought the man back to the streets where they picked him up from according to them, was because they didn't have enough fuel to be taking him around. In fact, for them or from them, they mentioned that even the fuel they brought the first time, the money for that came from their pockets.
Like I said earlier, we are still interviewing the crew. We're gathering all the information. We're looking at our fuel supply. They get coupons.
Is it normal practice? Is it possible? I mean, perhaps based on the challenges you have, that an ambulance car, I mean, for lack of a better description, an ambulance wouldn't have fuel in it to the extent that when there is an emergency service, an emergency situation, the workers will be loving enough to use their own money for fuel. Is that normal happening?
Your question is complicated. You said, is it normal or can it happen? It is not routine. It is not normal. That is not our protocol. But can it happen? Yes, it can happen that the crew takes the patient. They go to Ridge Hospital. They reject the patient. They go to Kolebu. They reject the patient. They send the patient to another hospital. They reject the patient. The fuel is running. They have to have air conditioning running. And at that point, if their fuel is running low, they can purchase fuel. But is that routine? No, that's out of line. So your question is really complex.
Do you have a system where the ambulance can refuel without workers having to spend their monies on it?
Yes, they get fuel coupons regularly. The Minister of Health gives them, and through the ambulance service, we get them fuel coupons. But if they're en route and it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and they don't have ability to go get more fuel coupons, then they have to use the money and then they claim it the following day. But they can refuel, they can call for secondary ambulances to come and help them. So these are all late.
In other words, this can't be an excuse from the men. Because one, if you use your money, you will get it back. Two, in the first place, the ambulance service is made provision so you don't have to use your money. And so it can't be an excuse, can it?
Yeah, I don't know whether that is, you are telling me that's their excuse. We have interviewed them. It did not come up.
It did not come up.
We're still getting more information. I met them at 7 o'clock this morning, and this never came up.
Fair enough.
We're still getting more information. We're going to be interviewing the bystanders. We're going to be interviewing police officers. We're going to be interviewing the control structure, the dispatch center. So, and we're going to look at their fuel levels. How much did they have? So, give us some time. Let's investigate. We're on top of this. 7 o'clock, I met the team to initiate the investigation. The Minister of Health has contacted us to get more information. We're going to gather more information, and then we'll help. But what I want us to start looking at is a system-wide problem.
Absolutely.
Why did the hospitals refuse to take patients?
Let's tackle that now.
These are things, yes.
Let's tackle that from your angle. You go to the hospital with patients who don't have, or with persons who do not have any relatives with them for no reason, at least not known to you and I. The hospitals decide to reject these patients. What exactly has the ambulance service done in this regard, in its bid to want to address the problem?
We have placed structures in place. We'll put in structures to avoid these confrontations with hospitals. We have educated our crew members to go through the hierarchy. When they get to a hospital and there is a confrontation, there's rejection, they call a hierarchical, they call the next person in line. And then we have been able to solve some of them, the instances where this has happened. So we cannot force the hospital to accept the patient. We just send it. We treat the patient in the ambulance at the scene, take the person in the ambulance, continue to treat the patient, and we deliver the patient. If the hospital refuses to take the patient, that's not our jurisdiction. So the next thing is to say, let's send to the next hospital. Let's go to the next hospital. So we have instances, countless instances, where they've gone from 3 hospitals before the person is accepted. Sometimes they have to call the CEO of a teaching hospital to enforce that the person be accepted. So I think this opens up a lot of discussion. We are going to do more investigation. I trust that the public and Joy FM and all the news media can do more investigation to see how can we improve our emergency medical system. This is not a blame game, but how can we improve it? That if the ambulance person takes somebody, irrespective of the ability to pay or not, just to the ER, what should they do at the emergency room? They should take the patient and then release the ambulance to go on to pick another patient.
Very well.
But if the ambulance is handicapped by carrying one patient for this long, then another patient is not helped.
Well,
so I think we should look at it country-wide and system-wide.
Dr. Akama, I'm totally grateful for your time here. We look forward to that update on your investigation. Dr. Joseph Atia Akama is Deputy CEO with the Ghana Ambulance Service. Now, the conversation doesn't end here. The bystanders, the people within the community, calls the Kotopabi Police Service as part of their efforts in helping this man out of his situation. The response from the Kotopabi police station would shock you. They wanted to wait for the man to die before the police could make a move. Again, I am asking the question, is it normal protocol that the police would have to wait for a dead body before they can help in any way at all? Wouldn't you agree with me? If the police was involved, perhaps the police hospital would have accepted this man and treated him. When I come back, we'll look into that matter. Don't go away.